to order. Justice McGrew, would you lead us in invocation?
I looked at him with the judge over there. That's the
Father God, we just come to you today, Lord, just to give you thanks for all our many blessings, Father. Pray that you'll be with us as we have this meeting. Help us to accomplish what we need to accomplish, and in all that we say and do, glorify you. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. If you'll lead us, sir.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, number one on the agenda tonight is discussion of a resolution asking the Attorney General's opinion on the naming of a building.
I guess I'll speak on it since we don't have anybody else here. I think if all the JPs here tonight were present at our meeting last week when there was a discussion between our county attorney, John Howard, and I in regards to a potential conflict. There's really no, as it references in the resolution, there's no Attorney General's opinion or appellate cases or any type of case that references whether or not the part of that state law that has the exemption in there for historical buildings to define what that truly means. And John and I kind of had a back and forth over a disagreement on what I might thought it means and what he thinks it means. And I know there's several people here from the public that have reached out to me and seem to kind of read it the way I do. So John wrote this resolution for us just to kind of clear things up in regards to that Arkansas Code annotated 25-5-121. And basically what we'd be doing is, if this were to pass the full quorum court, we'd be John would then go to one of our state representatives or one of our state senators and ask for them to ask the Attorney General for an Attorney General's opinion in regards to that part of the statute. So I don't think that either way we approach this, I mean, if we find out that the way I'm reading it's wrong, everything is all good and the building stays the same, and if we find out that the way that John's reading is wrong, then we just find out that we need to change something to get in compliance with state law. So I don't think that either way we do this, it's going to adversely affect anything for county business, and I'd appreciate everybody's vote on it.
So the exemption, it's so you're saying the exemption isn't in reference to the naming of the building, but the building itself?
Let me read from that part of state law. That it's Arkansas Code annotated 25-1-121, and what the exemption is. Let's see. It's section D1. A building, structure, airport, or facility that concerns an individual living at the time of completion of the building, structure, or facility and has historical significance, including without limitation that individual's birthplace. So that exemption, the way I read it, is that it has to have the building or structure or facility has to have historical significance to the individual that the building is being named after. John reads it as any type of building that has historical significance, which this building absolutely does. It's a National Guard Armory. So whether or not that exemption applies to the building we're sitting in right now determines whether or not we're in compliance with state law with the current name.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I tend to not be able to do well when I read legal jargon. I'll read one line and think that I know absolutely everything of what it says, and I read the other line, the next line, and I lose all of my perspective on what it says. So interpretation is not a strong case. Everybody agrees with John's statements last week that Daryl poured his heart into this place and did a great job with it. But he also said there's never been any challenges whatsoever to the statute, and he didn't show, to me, full confidence that in reading that D1, that I can't, with my limited understanding and confusion when I read legal jargon. I think we need a decision, and then that clarifies it all. We all 13 of us were here at that time, voted yes for this, and I was for it then, I'll be for it now if that's not a roadblock. But I think that we need a clarification, so.
Yes, sir. All those in favor of moving this resolution onto the quorum court? Can I get a motion to move it on to the quorum court?
I'll make a motion to give it a due pass.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any nay votes? We shall move it on to the quorum court. The next discussion is on a $1 per month increase to the house-to-house collections in 2024 to continue efforts to prepare for the new bids in a couple of years. Judge.
Last year, in looking forward, we had 7-year contracts, not only with our house-to-house collection service that we employ here, but also with the delivery point in Bauxite. Republic has a landfill in Bauxite, and that's who we deliver to. So their contract expires September 30th of 2026. The contract with our house-to-house collectors expires December 31st of 2026. So we're going to have 2 7-year contracts that are coming to an end within 3 months of each other. Republic has already been back to us and asked us for a $5 increase in the fee that we pay over there to dump. I told them that I couldn't make that decision because we work out of what is called Southwest Central Regional Solid Waste District, and it's a group bid that we take for our dumping over there. So they did not pursue that, but I know that we will see at least a $5 increase in that bid. Our house-to-house collection that we employ here, we had a CPI built into their contract, and so we have already absorbed the CPI since we started that contract, and it was a 7-year contract as well. I believe it started January 1st of 2020. And so we've already absorbed about 22 to 24%. This year included to be probably 27% that we've absorbed in the county because we pay the contractor a CPI each year. So rather than coming up to the new bidding and have to go up $5 or $6 to everybody's rate, we decided last year to start some incremental increases to do $1.50 the first year, $1 the next year, and $1 the following year, which will give us a $3.50 increase by the 2025 period. Early in 2026, we will have to start our bidding process. The process through Regional Solid Waste District will come through our West Central Arkansas Planning and Development District. So there's a couple things there that play into it. If we do not go back with Republic in Bauxite, we will be going back to North Little Rock more than likely, to Two Pines, and they also have a facility in Jefferson County that we could go to. However, the travel time, the cost of travel greatly increases what we have to pay. We went with a 7-year contract with our house-to-house collector because we made them do an initial purchase of several new pieces of equipment so that we wouldn't have the complaints that we were getting about the equipment leaking on the roads and things of that nature. So this is an incremental increase. I believe our rate today is $18 a month for a can, and this would move it to $19 a month. In the end, we would be at $20 a month plus tax, which would prepare the people of Garland County for the increases that we see coming at the end of these terms. It was great to be able to get a 7-year contract, but I know that the way inflation has been and the cost of fuel now compared to where it was in 2019, we're going to see some impactful increases in the bids that we get. So this is just a way to do it incrementally rather than having to go to the public at the end and say, we need $6, we need $7, whatever it is. And if it comes in a lot higher, then we'll have to look at moving on forward. But I would like to see us go with the dollar a year this year, and we won't start till the beginning of 2024, and then one more dollar in the beginning of 2025. That would put us at $20 a can per month at the beginning of the year that we're going to start out for bids. We have to start our bid for our house-to-house collection agency fairly early because equipment is so hard to get. An example of that is we ordered 4 day cabs for the landfill in May of 2022. They were promised to be built in August of 2023, and I just had a meeting with them last week, and they said possibly the first quarter of 2024 now. They've also pushed them into 2025 model trucks, and they're asking for an increase in the price we're paying. I'm arguing with them over that, but that's just an example of when we go with another contractor, whether it be the same one or whether it be a new contractor, we have to give them enough opportunity to purchase the equipment that they're going to need to do the job. We had a few early problems with going from 3 trash collection services to 1, but overall, I think that Billy and Angie are both here. Billy's the director of our landfill, and Angie handles the house-to-house collections in the collector's office, and the collector's here. I believe overall, we've had pretty good service out of the trash collection service we have now. So trying to do this in small increments rather than loading up, and also it helps us cover the costs that we've already absorbed on our own. Try to answer any questions.
Billy, you got anything to add? Angie?
Turn the mic on, sorry. Just an observation. You mentioned that it has a consumer price index adjustment built into the contract. I would assume that blade swings both ways if we ever do see a reduction in consumer price index.
Yes, sir. It's whatever the CPI is, we figure that in for the next year. And, I think in 21 and 22, we saw a 7% and an 8% increase in the CPI. So it was pretty drastic as far as what our rate went up to our collection agency.
Well, if memory serves me right, the adjustment we made a year ago was $5, wasn't it?
$150.
$150. Okay, well, I couldn't remember. $150, and if we
For the year 2023, we increased to $150, and that brought the rate to $18 a ton. And I believe before that, 2014 was the last time there was a rate increase.
Right.
So that brought the rate to $18. If we do $1 for the year of 2024, that'll be $19. Then if we did one more for the year of 2025, that would make it $20 a can. And it allows people to budget for that increase without it being a large increase all at once.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Chairman?
George. Yes,
If you would. How many people do we have paying at that individual $18 rate?
I think we've got 22,000 cans out, and I believe that we're really close on collections. And how many? I couldn't hear what he said, maybe you could. 7 difference between what we're billing and what we're collecting. That's pretty good.
What was your, Judge, repeat that? I couldn't hear them either.
$7 difference between what they're,
No, only 7.
oh,
And the difference in the number of cans that we have out there, the number that we're collecting for is 7.
In 2019, the difference was about 2,000. And we did if you'll remember, Jimmy, you were on the court, we did an audit of the cans, and we hired a company to come in and install barcodes on them so we could scan them, make sure that if somebody tries to take your can and use it somewhere else, we can scan it basically and say, and all of our new cans that we purchased since then had the barcode built into them. But we brought Rarig, was that the company that came in here, installed barcodes on all the cans, and we were able to scan, and they've got it down to, with what we're actually billing for now, and what we have out, according to record, is only 7 cans out of 22,000.
Wow. Okay. Thank you.
And that's pretty impressive at as many places as they are.
Yeah.
Those numbers are good, real good.
What's our collection rate, Rebecca? Do you know how far behind? I mean, do we have many delinquents? Rough estimate, 20% delinquent, or?
Somebody wants to, if they get somewhere behind because it's a bill that they quarterly. If you don't pay, we don't shut you off. If you don't pay your electric bill or your water bill, your water, your electricity is turned off.
Here's the one good thing to remember, Angie and their crew over there is doing an outstanding job of chasing down the ones that don't pay, and they are getting with us, and every one of them is taking a step to try to make sure that collection is staying on top, and they'll send us a sheet that says, hey, they hadn't paid in 6 months, can we shut them off? And I give them the okay to go shut them off right then.
She's also done a very good job of trying to work with people, both of you have, is trying to work with people to help them get their stuff paid and remind them that it's not paid at times.
What would happen if we didn't raise it?
We're still going to absorb that cost. I mean, we firmly believe that we're going to see a $7 increase in our just the one at Bauxite, but we also have to look at the house to house that we're doing. We have 2 contracts that are renewing within 3 months of each other. And this is just an effort to keep from hitting the public with I believe it's a lot easier to budget a year at a time with $1 than it is to come in and say $7. And so what we could look at, if we get that $7 increase, then we could look at, rather than hitting them with the rest of that, go into the gradual increase for the rest of it so people can budget it out. I still think it's a tremendous value to have somebody come to your house once a week, pick up your trash, haul it to Bauxite and get rid of it for $20. So I mean, it's
So four pickups a month for 18.
sometimes 5
For $18.
once a week.
That would about to be $19, right? And so.
Yeah, right now it's $18
Yeah, so
and one more dollar would be 19.
4 pickups a week per can.
One pickup a week.
1 pickup, 4 times a month, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sometimes 5 times a month, depending on what the month
Sometimes 5 times
is.
a month. Yeah.
We pay the contractor every 2 weeks rather than bi-monthly because we do have some months that have 5 weeks in them, so they have an extra pickup then. And as I said, if we wind up that Waste Management gets the bid on the landfill, then we will have a lot more expense having to go to North Little Rock.
They're going to go after it, I was told this week.
Waste Management has 2 facilities that we utilized when we were with them before. We were actually with them before we went to Republic, but they don't do a good job of keeping it up, and one is located where 440 comes out. That's when you go around 440 going into Sherwood or Jacksonville, on both sides of the highway there is Waste Management. That's the landfill we had to go to. Now we just have to go to Bauxite. So imagine the travel time difference alone that we would have to see, and so it affects your bottom line. I mean, it's all Class 1 waste that we take over there, and it's not only is it a lot longer, the landfill is a lot rougher, and they have a lot larger volume than what they have at Republic. So in the event it rains, it takes them a lot longer to get it cleaned up to where you can get in and out of there. I think that it probably has the record for the most broken rear ends and axles on any of our vehicles anywhere over there. But I'm hoping that Republic bids. They bought a gravel pit that was next to them, and they bought a lot of property, so I'm hoping that they're aggressive when they bid again. Just the travel time alone and the risk factor that we have between Bauxite and North Little Rock is enough to make us look at the actual price that we're going to pay and figure in as well the amount of fuel we'll use, the time. I would dare say we'd lose a load a day per truck if we had to go to Waste Management.
How do we know, is it you communicating with them on what they believe the increase will be, or have
Like I say, we've already met with, Republic came in last March, I believe, and asked us for a $5 increase on the current contract. And I met with them and two members from West Central Arkansas Planning and Development, and I told them at that time that I could not make that decision, that we would have to have a group, because it's a group that does that. It's like a buying cooperative. It's a Southwest Central Regional Solid Waste District, and it's Hot Spring County and Clark County, Garland County, and Saline County.
Garden and Malvern and
Yeah.
Arkadelphia.
That all go there, and so we make a cooperative agreement with them to provide them 200 tons of trash a day, so they know the revenue stream that they're going to have. So they sent a gentleman in here in March and said, hey, fuels went up, it's costing us more to maintain our landfill than what we thought it was, we need $5 a ton more. I told them I couldn't make the decision, they'd have to come back to the full board, and we would be glad to listen to what they had to say, but they never came back. So we know already they're seeking $5. So I would assume that's $1 a year increase if they just go up 7 years, because it was a 7-year contract. And I'm not against the 7-year contract, because it let us figure our cost and plan ahead as well. Mm-hmm. But it's being a 7-year contract, you see a large increase from 1 year to the period that it ends. We're going from 19 to 26, and so if we're going to see a large increase in both of them. I can't imagine looking at the cost of trucks now. Just think what a truck costs in 2019 versus what they are now, if you can get them.
Yeah.
And so that's something else we have to figure in, is when we ask that person. There was a $2 million investment for our house-to-house collection group here. It's probably closer to a $3.5 million investment now. So all of that weighs in, and they've got a little bit better handle on how it works with one collection service having all the collections. For a long time, we had 3 different zones, and had 3 different collection services, and while 2 of them did an outstanding job, 1 of them did not, but the pricing varied between the 2 because they had turned in different bids. So Jimmy, where you live, you might be paying, if you're in County Can, you might be paying $17. Where I live, I might be paying $18.25. And so now, with just one collection agency, everybody pays the same rate for the can per month.
Have you looked at our $18 a can going to $19 at other markets in our area, what they're paying a can? Are we along right in?
I think we're pretty low, actually. Judging from what our Class 4 landfill pricing is, we're at $24 a ton to bring in to our Class 4 landfill. Had a meeting last week. Hot Springs County is $60 a ton. Class 1, our house-to-house stuff, I think the city of Hot Springs is $36 a month at the city of Hot Springs on cans.
Hot Springs is.
So I think we're very reasonable on what we're charging. And, you have to, this is one of those deals that we have to have it's kind of like health insurance. We have to have a certain amount of participation, which is everybody, because that trip to Buckville costs a lot more to go get their trash than it does to Georgia's house to get trash. But we have to make a cooperative out of it and spread that whole price out to see what we actually do, because all we do is bring that trash in, they dump it out on the floor, we load it in a trailer, and we take it to bauxite. And so there's a lot of handling of that trash. And even though the first person picks it up from your house, that's not the person that takes it to bauxite and drops it off. It's brought into our transfer stations, and it's dumped on the floor at the transfer stations. We load it into one of our tractor trailers and transport it over there. Now, we do have some Class 1 that goes over there in a bin. We may drop a roll-off at somebody's house, a burnt house, for instance. We can't take burnt stuff. We can't take the ash. So that bin is loaded up on that truck and taken to bauxite and dumped over there. So I think that we're very much in line, and I feel like that if we don't do this at the end, we're already behind from where we were. With the CPI increase, we didn't do anything the first 2 years of the contract. We just started last year was the first year we saw that we were starting to push out a pretty large CPI, And so we felt like we needed to try to stop some of absorbing of it, because you can get yourself upside down pretty quick with that stuff. And as you know, equipment, fuel, tires, and employees cost us a lot more money now than it did then.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Did I understand you right that we contract 200 ton a day?
I don't know that, no, I said if we did tell them they want 200 ton, they know how much we're bringing from our cooperative group, from Southwest Central Regional Solid Waste. Billy can probably tell you exactly what we take.
Right now, we're doing 1,200 tons a week to that landfill. And if we had to go to waste management, that's twice the cost of what we didn't budget for.
Thank you.
So when we get our bids, and I think they'll both probably bid, but when we get our bids, that's something that the regional waste district probably needs to look hard at, is how much extra does it cost you to travel that far? And we're even gonna have to look into risk factor at that point, because we had more breakdowns, we had more downtime on the road, and it's just not the landfill is not in as good a shape as the one over there in Bauxite is. And I think they'll both be aggressive, but I do know that the one at Bauxite has already asked for $5, and that was in March of this year.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to move this forward to the full quorum court.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nay votes? With hearing none, we'll move it to the quorum court.
We'll take it to finance first and let them run numbers for next year's budget so that we can have all that figured in.
Thank you. Okay, we're still waiting on engineered costs of the 70 West Transfer Station.
We are, I keep wanting to call them B&F, but it's Craft and Toll. Craft and Toll is the one that handles all of our landfill development and our waste stream, period. They do all of the documents for DEQ for our waste stream. They do all the documents for our transfer stations, which is a lot of paperwork. So they're doing the design on that transfer station off of their original design they had. I had hoped that we would have some engineered cost estimates so we could put it in the budget at this time, but we don't. The first bid that we got to repair the old one was $490,000, but that didn't count any floor work or anything. And Mr. Chairman, you were out there with me. You see the shape of the floor, and it's a 2004. Was that when that was built, Billy? 2003 or 2004 was when that transfer station was built, and there's been a lot of trash through there. So it's about the life expectancy of it. We've already replaced the floor in the 107 North, so it's about the life expectancy of it. So we're waiting that. Hopefully, we'll have those numbers by finance in October, and we can look at them and see what it's actually going to cost. And we'll maybe have John Rogers from Craft and Toll come show us what the actual plan is. I know we had some last time, but it'd be easier if we got a big picture to look at. Some other stuff for next year on buildings, stuff that we'd like to do. We'd like to take on, and this is going to be a major project, replumbing the courthouse. It's plumbed in galvanized, copper, and black pipe. So we've got some areas, about twice a month we have to have the drain rotted out on the first floor because it's got a section in it that is sank. We looked at it with a camera, and it's black pipe, so it's starting to corrode inside and come apart. Scaling. Now they actually there's a contractor, several contractors, I guess, that you can come in and line those with. I just don't know if it'll give us the volume that we need. Some of the galvanized pipe that's in the courthouse is just starting to spring leaks. It's worn so thin, some of it in the drop ceiling in the main hallway there, for no apparent reason, water will show up on the floor and pull the drop ceiling out, and some of that has sprung a leak because it's so paper thin. And the only thing we've been able to do so far is they make a clamp that we can get at Fox, and we clamp that off. So we're on borrowed time, and I'd like to replumb it, and I'd also like to remodel all those bathrooms in there. You know, each bathroom has a commode that doesn't work in it. The urinals don't work all the time. If you go in the one on the first floor by the treasurer's office, they've got cardboard underneath those where they had to cut holes out on the wall to get to the piping in there, and it needs to be redone, and the plumbing especially, and I would like to try to tackle those. And the other issue is the government building next to us over here. The windows leak on it. We've got an awning that's on the other side, and if you've ever came to the revenue office on a rainy day, that awning causes you to get wetter than if you just stood out in the rain. And so we need to redo that. We need to fix those windows, and those, I think they're mostly decorative, those pylons that go up. If you look when you leave here at night, they're cracked and they're coming apart, and they need to be replaced, but it needs a facelift, needs to be cleaned up, needs to have the leaks fixed where we don't have water intrusion, and it definitely needs that awning fixed on the other side, and a couple of handicap approach ramps built on it as well. So those are some of our major projects that we're looking for next year. God always provides us some small ones along the way that come along each year. We've got a water heater issue at the district courts right now. They went out last year, and we've been waiting on hot water heaters. So they came in about 2 weeks ago, and we're going to set up on a weekend to have a plumber come in and try to install those. They're duplex water heaters, and they're 3-phase. And it's about a $20,000 job to replace them. We had to do one last year at the health department. It was just single, and it was about a $8,000 job to do it. But it's the way they've got pumps on them that circulate the water all the time through the building because of the square footage, so that you don't turn the water on and leave it run for an hour and a half on one end to try to get hot water there. So they've got pumps on that circulate the water all the time, and it's part of the process. But both of them sprung leaks and water everywhere, and thankfully these are in the basement, so we didn't have a problem. There's a drain in the basement, but we'll have several things that come up next year. We've applied for a grant. It's an energy efficiency grant that may provide us about 7 HVAC units to replace in Rebecca's building. She's got some that are dated 1996, still operational. But we've applied for an energy efficiency grant that if we step up to like a 15-SEER HVAC unit, they'll actually pay for that. So it's a $77,000 grant. If we can get that, I know we can do 6. I'm in hopes that we could do 7 if we bundle them and do a bid package on them and try to get them out. So it's just, we try to save everywhere we can, but there's a lot to do here. And anytime you have an historic building like that, one other thing I wanted to do is put a generator on that building. Not so much so that we can work when we don't have power, but I'd like to be able to do that too. But something I learned this past winter from things that didn't have power but they had water in them and it was below zero, the sprinkler systems burst in not only the convention center, but also in the basement of the, I don't ever go there, so I don't even know what it's called. The big building down there at, on Malvern Avenue, where the rich people go. What is it?
Country Club?
Country Club, that's it, yeah. So it filled the basement up down there, but that's something that we probably need to do over here. We have cost estimate, we've had a load test done on it, just so that in the winter, if it gets too cold and we run without power for a week, we'll be able to pick that up and at least provide heat in there so we don't, they froze in there, not this past year, but the year before. The week we were closed, the water pipes froze in the building over there, but JD and Kevin and myself came down here and actually found the frozen spot in the basement and were able to heat it and get it opened up. But when we heated the pipe, it's old copper, it's got all kinds of sediment in it, and so every urinal and every commode in the building had to have the flaps changed in them because that's where all the trash went to. So those are just projects that we're looking at coming up. I had some pictures here earlier that I think most of you had a chance to look at of our progress on Division 1 courtroom in the courthouse. It's coming together pretty nicely. Got some really unique things that we've found since we've been in there. But right now we're still on schedule for November, early to mid-November, to have that project complete, and it's going to look like it did when we started. We found a couple of places, thankfully we started this, we found a couple of places in the ceiling of it where the plaster had turned loose from the lath, and the lath is basically boards that go across, then they've attached the plaster to it. Well, there's about 2 places where the plaster had came loose and was no longer attached, it was just attached to itself. And so they peeled that out, they cut that out, and we put it back in there to where it'll stay this time. But it could have fallen on the gallery, or the other part was right over the judge's head. And I would have liked to have gone up there tonight and looked at it, but it's full of, you can't hardly walk through there. I mean, it's got stuff everywhere. And so being a construction area, as it gets a little closer, we'll go up there and take a look at it when it starts getting closer to being done. I'll try to answer any questions about anything else we got going on, if you can think of anything. Environmental services, end of July, about July the 28th, we turned in our plan for DEQ's piezometer installation. Piezometers are items that go into the ground. You drill a hole like 30 feet deep and it measures the groundwater and makes sure that your top of your liner is 5 feet away from the groundwater in there. And we're moving into a new phase. We are completing phase 2 as we speak. Billy and his crew are trying to fill it up as fast as they can out there, but this phase 2 had 4 cells in it, and we're working out of cell 4 right now in phase 2. So our next move will be to another phase. Now it's still attached to the footprint that we're working on right now, but it's another phase. And what I'm going to encourage Craft and Toll to do is make a little larger cell for us to put on the list this time. We've always had to import clay for a liner. And the clay has become pretty scarce here. So what we're looking into is a man-made liner to put in there. I think in the long run, even though it may cost us a little more up front, I think in the long run it will stand up to a test of time better. Out at the Dow chemical plant out here, they had to use that material to encapsulate all of that place out there. And it's I don't know, I think it's 4 mils thick, and you roll it out and you weld it together. It's you roll one big roll of it out, I think they're 20 feet wide. You roll it out and you put another one beside it and they're welded together. So basically, you can make a swimming pool out of it if you wanted to, but it's designed to do the opposite. It's designed to keep any leachate or any material out of a landfill from going down into anything. And so as we have right now, we have clay, which it'll hold water too. But I think over the test of time, I think that the man-made liner will probably work out better for us if we choose to do a larger cell. And I just know that each time we go to do a cell, we start getting close and we start prodding DEQ to try to provide us with our permits, and it drags along, and we get down to where we're running out of room. And I think it would be better for everybody involved if we could do a bigger cell this time when we move into our phase. Something else that we've seen out there with our volume of trash that's coming in, we went from about a 63-year life cycle on our landfill to less than 40 in the past 2 years. So that's something that we've got to start looking at too. If the landfill continues to bring in the amount of material it is, we're going to have to start looking at, is there any property adjacent to that and how long we want to operate it. The other thing we need to look at is our operations plan and see if we want to charge a different rate to somebody that might be bringing trash from Hot Spring County in. After all, that's the Garland County landfill, and I think its design was to take care of the people of Garland County and make sure that the trash did not wind up in our ditches and provide people a place to go to take their class 4 to. So there's a lot of things on the table. It's going to be an expensive year next year. We've got to build a transfer station. We're going to have to try to get the phase 3 open. I firmly expect that both of those will be $1.5 million job. But we've got money put back for the landfill expansion we've been putting back for a long time. So we've got that put away, and we've got some insurance money to do the transfer station. So it's just be prepared. We're going to be looking at some big expenses coming into next year. The equipment that we couldn't get this year will roll into next year. We'll just hopefully it'll get here before Billy's walking. His stuff's getting miled up pretty good.
Is there any other business or discussion? Sir?
I have not, but
Well, it
The
did not
expressway
open.
is open, supposed to be open.
When I come through, it was not.
My housekeeper came through there, and she drove through, so either she ran over the signs, or she came, maybe they started on the north end and came south, I don't know.
The north end was closed because I was going to come.
You didn't go the right way then, because she came
I
right
didn't go
through
over.
there. But Lori Tudor called me this morning and said that between the hours of 2 and 4 today, they expected to have everything complete and be able to open it. And so it was passed on from her, and I feel pretty confident she'll get it to happen one way or another today, because she sent it out to the representative senator. But if we got that open, we can look for big things out at the north side of the county, and a huge savings in time on our public safety. It's the thought of being able to send a deputy from out where Dayton lives to the north side of the county. Otherwise, you had to come through town or go through the gorge, come down Grand, and this is going to be much quicker. I mean, I can't see that it won't save everybody 15 minutes during a day's time as far as public safety coming through there, or even our trash services going through there. I mean, it's a speed limit's 55 through there. It's a 2-lane road. It is a gorgeous drive through there. The variations of geology that they went through when they made the cuts is absolutely beautiful. If you get a chance and it's open, Nub didn't put the signs back up, drive through it. It's worth it. It really is. I think the grand opening is scheduled for October 24th. If you got time, put it on your schedule where you can come go through that process. But it's been a long wait, but I think we've finally got it attacked, and I'm going to try to go through there tonight when I go home just to see. But we're looking forward to having it operational. I think it'll take everybody a little while to adapt to it. Also, along those same lines, I've had a couple meetings over the past 2 or 3 weeks. Something that I didn't realize had went on when the discussions were going on about the expressway was previous administration agreed to take over the maintenance of the Gorge Road when the new bypass.
Who agreed?
I'm sorry?
Who agreed?
The previous administration did. They agreed to take over the maintenance of that road. It has 5 bridges on it. They were built in 1938 and 39. The surface of the road, if you hadn't driven through there, is terrible. It's got water pumping out of it. 3 weeks ago today, I met with Mr. Steve Frisbee and Tony Evans from RDOT in the gorge, and they basically told me, no, we're going to come through here and patch a few places, and then it's yours. And since then, I've met with Jared Wiley, and they've agreed to do some other things, but apparently in those discussions, there was some discussion of closing the Gorge Road. The National Park Service wanted the property for a hiking and biking trail to join with their Gulf of Gorge campground. I don't want it to close. I've asked them to do a traffic study after they get the bypass open, because I think it'll still be heavily used. Worst case scenario, if we can get them to do it, then we'll maybe take trucks off of it, because it is dangerous for trucks to go through there, truck traffic, heavy truck traffic. But I just feel like that area, I'm thinking public safety again. The City of Hot Springs Police Department, they've got a car on Grand, and they get a call for some kind of problem there at the Gorge and Park. They've got to come all the way back through town. So Laura Miller's been good to work with on our on our Black Snake project. So I think she'll at least listen to us. No water. I met with a lady the other day that talked for 2 hours with no water. I can't do it. But those are just things we've got to look forward to in the year ahead. But I think we'll get them all worked out. I just don't want to close the bypass off. I mean, the Gorge Road off completely.
Use it every day. Yeah.
I do too. I'll probably use it less now with the bypass open.
Hopefully, yeah.
But it's a major thoroughfare.
Yeah.
Any other business?
I think I've gave y'all plenty to think about tonight.
I did get a call about the gorge being closed today.
I've had several calls about it. That was the conversation. There was a different superintendent here at the time. Josie Freilich was the superintendent at the time those discussions took place. And so I think that it was her desire to close it, but I've met with the current superintendent several times, and they have expressed a willingness to do a traffic study on it and make sure it's not going to affect too many people adversely. Thank you. I've had several calls on it not closing it. I don't think I've had anybody call to close it. But we just need to know going in that the maintenance on it is going to become ours. RDOT has agreed. If the Park Service agrees to leave it open, they're going to go in and do all the maintenance that's required at this time on the bridges. They're going to replace all the guardrails as needed, clean the ditches, cut the trees back from the edge, and they're going to put an under drain in at that spot that holds water there right above the hill, by the gorge, and do a 2-inch overlay on the whole thing. So we'll have a little breathing room there, but I just know that every bridge that we've built has cost at least $1 million, so you can kind of figure we are going to inherit a $5 million liability there.
Rebecca?
Just to let y'all know, I've talked to Northside. The generator I ordered for the government office building should be here this week. It's supposed to be here on the 15th, so I called them. It's supposed to be here this week. So hopefully we'll get that put in and we won't have to worry about pipes freezing.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn if there's no other business. Thank you. Okay.
I'm new at this, but earlier on the resolution about the building name, I didn't hear any call for an opposed, but I'd like to be on the record as opposed.
She wants to be on the record as opposed to the when it comes to the naming of the
resolution
building.
that was brought up earlier about the building name. I have all confidence in John Howard. I looked back on the May 23, 14, and it was passed, and in all confidence, I'm sure. I did not hear all opposed, so I didn't get a chance to say that, so I am.
I recorded it.
You did?
Opposed.
Okay, thanks. That's fine. Thanks.
All right, thank y'all.
Thank you.